everyone, and welcome to Dire Bear Adventuring Company. It is Monday night, which means it's time for the Troubleshooters. Welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us while we took a night off for Memorial Day in remembrance of all of those who have fallen in combat and serving and protecting the United States. So thank you if you're out there and you are a veteran, you're watching. Thank you for your service. We really appreciate you. Fantastic to have you here joining us. So what do we have going on? So let's talk about some things that we have going on. Gen Con, it's still a ways away, September. But your boy will be there live in Indianapolis. If you're in the area, if you're at Gen Con, make sure you find me. I will not be hard to find. I'll be working the D&D games on the Baldwin game section, running the Adventure League stuff. Say hi, drop by, wave, buy a ticket, sit at my table, play some D&D. I look forward to it. Closer to that, the virtual D&D weekend is this coming weekend. Unfortunately, I will not be running games. I have to go out of town on Sunday, and I had a prior engagement on Saturday, so unfortunately, I could not do it. Next month, though, July, I will be running live games for Ballman Games for the virtual D&D weekend. Don't forget, in July, hosted by G4, will be the D&D live weekend. And for those of you who didn't catch the news, the newest book dropped. We're going into the Feywild. The new book is all about the Fey, which I'm not surprised, considering that they had the Fey races in one of the UAs not too long ago was all about the rabbit folk and the owl folk and things like that. So not surprised that they're going on. If you guys will give me a second. Yeah. It's hang on a second. I'll tell you what it's called in like 2 seconds because they just announced it. But it's coming out the 21st of September is when it's coming out. If you go to their site, they talk about The Wild Beyond the Witchlight is what it's called. The Wild Beyond the Witchlight, the next big adventure storyline. So it's not a campaign setting. It is the next adventure, which we've seen them do this. They'll go adventure, campaign, or you know, addendum, errata, whatever you want to call it. And then they'll do an adventure. So the next adventure is The Wild Beyond the Witchlight. This one looks like it takes the storyline brings Wicked Whimsy of the Feywild to 5th edition for the first time. In July 16th and 17th, the D&D Live 2021, which will be going on that time, presented by G4, they will be talking about all of the new things they had, including new characters, new monsters, new mechanics, story hooks suitable for players of all ages, and experience levels. So this should be exciting to see and have come out. And I know for a fact, but I can't tell you how I know for a fact, that there is, because they've only had Candlekeep and they just dropped Van Richten's, they'll have the Feywild coming out, The Wild Beyond the Witchlight. That means they've got one more book for this season, for this year. And I'm not at liberty to say, but I know a little bit about what the content is going to be. But I can't tell you right now. Sorry. But I'll let you know more as soon as I do. So all of that, and then even sooner than all of that, which is in July, 2 weeks from tonight, not next week, but the week after, there will be no Troubleshooters because I am running a special one-shot called the Aldemir Mystery, the Mystery at Aldemir, with Jenny Loveday, Tony Winslow Brill, who wrote for Candlekeep Mysteries and is a writer for many stories, and the man himself, the creator of Forgotten Realms, the guy who wrote Faerun back in 1st edition, Ed Greenwood. That will be coming up in 2 weeks from now. I will make the announcement again. You'll see a poster go up about it. We'll advertise it, let everybody know that we're out there and going to be doing this thing. I'm super excited. I reached out and asked them, hey, would you guys mind doing this? And they were like, yeah, we'd love to. So I'm excited about that. So those three will be joining me 2 weeks from now for a special event where we will not have a Troubleshooters episode, but we will have D&D that evening. And so a huge thanks to them. So don't miss out on that. It should be really fun. And I think that's all the announcements. Oh, I do want to hint something so that way we can draw your attention more. We may or may not be in the works of something. coming out that you can possibly, if it all gets lined up properly, purchase and actually have some Dyer Bear Adventuring Company merchandise. Right now, I'm working with someone who is diligently working on getting a website with a store and everything else, but we're trying to find the most cost-effective way to do it. But I want to let you guys know that will be coming down the line. Merchandise, and I don't want to say more than that because I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to get my hopes up and then be like, sorry guys, we couldn't do it. So I think that's all the announcements I have. So without much more beating around the bush, let's get to tonight's episode of The Troubleshooters. Welcome back, everyone. So last week, or not last week, but the last time we were on, a wish was made. They were whisked away to an airship. They took off across the Atlantic Ocean, landing in New Amsterdam. And New Amsterdam was something to behold.
They're walking trees.
Instead of a city spires that rise to the sky or the sprawling city that you would see, you saw nature infused with dwellings. You would see trees built around homes or homes built around trees, flats that rise high above the city, houses and things, spiraling stairs, bridges that cross the span. You would see a mix of European-style homes in with this forest. On top of that, moving through them just slow at a methodic pace, walking trees. You would see small people with hooved feet. Stout folk, not very tall, but very broad and stout. All manner of people that you were not seen ever before. Some that you have, humans, people in common garb that you would normally see in the time. But this wonderful blend of the new and the old. As the ship lights down in the bay, the crystals come to a rest and it bursts in the water. The gangplank is lowered and you are all allowed to disembark. You watch as the visitors set off. You can see people at the end of the pier where they're getting out, being escorted. You see tour guides and other people hawking wares to the newcomers, selling them shiny shells and beads and other things that you would see for tourists to purchase and buy. A few you see holding up signs with names written on them and things like that. You also noticed, yes.
Before we get off the ship, is the captain around when we're getting ready to disembark off the ship?
Yeah, absolutely. He's overseeing the disembarking of the vehicle, of the vessel, I mean.
Yeah, I'd like to head up and chat with him real quick before I leave the ship.
Absolutely. Ah, it's good to see you again.
Thank you again for helping us out.
Of course.
We thoroughly appreciate your discretion and the safe travel.
Well, you were, at that point in time, a passenger on my ship, so it's not like I could let much of anything happen to you. So what's your plan from here, then?
Oh. Our search continues, looking for an acquaintance.
Well, I wish you luck, and if you need passage back home, you let me know.
And for my own knowledge, just out of curiosity, do you still keep in touch with any of your old brigade?
Um, in passing here and there.
Are any of them still active?
I'm sure they are, but when I made my way out in the world on my own, it's not that I cut ties, but we sort of lose one another, if you will.
Absolutely, I understand that. It's just good to know names of people I can trust if needed.
Well, Sharon, you can trust me, at least as long as you're on my vessel.
Fantastic. I look forward to seeing you for our travel home.
As do I. But do me one favor this time.
Hmm?
Make your way up the gangplank and not just drop yourselves on the deck of my boat, please.
Those were extenuating circumstances. I don't see that happening again.
Right.
We will
Oh,
make every effort to board your ship properly next time.
much obliged.
And I'll shake his hand and palm him a gold and wish him the best and head down to Gej and get ready to head out.
Excellent.
Yeah, she's
Um,
politely distracted by everything else. Like, it's
y-
enough to make
Liz
no
is
grown man cry.
yeah, Liz is the same way. Emrys is looking around, but it's less taking everything in, more something is going to come out of the shadows and try to kill me.
Where's the nearest person I can strangle with pants?
I have wet pants ready to go. As you disembark from the vessel, you can see all manner of things going on, and you notice that the trees, the treants, are being used to move cargo off of the vessels, able to lift large pallets as though it's nothing and set them down. Um, they seem to be moving in groups, and you can see like groups of aspen and groups or ash and group of fir trees and things like that. They all seem to be grouped together by what kind of tree they are. Um, with the larger oaks being the hardy workers, and then you can see there are smaller, less stout elm trees that are moving much more quickly, things like that. As you're looking, you can see all manner of people looking around, and however, while most of the folks seem to be moving about their way, you notice one individual who seems to be actively looking at the people as they're disembarking, but he's not holding a sign. He doesn't have any sort of things to sell you. He just he's just looking around like he's trying to decide if maybe this is the right mark or something. Ren, why don't you give us a description of yourself?
Rin is a satyr, about 5.5 feet tall, wearing simple leathers with a bunch of like little loops here and there across the front and some on the side. Short, curly brown hair, no beard, sort of like almost chubby cherubim face, very mirthful looking, kind of a little bit of a smile creeping across their face. um, Small horns coming out the sort of like from the base of their skull, coming up and curling over just a bit, just small horns, not like really large ones. And of course, the bottom half is hairy goat legs, sort of that backwards bent goat legs, no shoes, has hooves, um, and is just sort of looking around, looking at each person.
Ren, as you watch some of the people disembark, you clearly see no tourist. That's a tourist. No, they seem to be going to that person with a sign. Stepping off, you see a couple of individuals. One of them clearly an elf. Another one has orcish descent in them. And then you see what appear to be two humans. One of them on the taller side, at least according to you, with blonde hair and beard and facial hair. The other one, dark hair and a dark countenance about them, but much shorter than the other human. They seem to match the description that you've been given.
Rin's eyes will widen, and it's just sort of like, look a little excited and kind of like stamp in place a little bit with their hooves.
Love them.
And this is how we make a permanent member.
I love them.
And sort of like bounce in place and sort of like wave a hand in the air. The other one is holding like a small jug, and it's like waving excitedly and like waving you towards them.
I just picture the Gej and Moonin both looking at each other, and then at the same time with the same hand. Just...
Do we go to it? Do we go to them, or does it just? We haven't it up.
Liz, who was excitedly looking around, sees the waving person and goes, "That seems like the one we need to speak with," and just like starts in that direction.
I guess we follow.
Keep her out of trouble. But yeah, we walk.
It's not a short distance to the end of the pier as you approach the excited-looking half-goat person.
Yep. And they just have this big grin on their face. Are you, Gej and Moonin? Yeah, Emrys. Yeah, you're Emrys. Okay. Oh, what was I? Kind of, tramping at the dock, sort of like with their feet, just sort of like, frustrated, like, I was supposed to ask you something. Oh, where did you stop the train? That's the right. Yeah, that's the right question. Where did you stop the train? That's the right question, right? Oh gosh, I hope.
Where did we stop the train?
Yes.
Which time?
I don't know. I was supposed to ask.
Where did you all stop the train?
I mean, we stopped the train in Paris.
Was that out of character or was that in character?
This is in character, trying to remember, because that was a whole lot of crazy events very quickly following each other. I want to say
yes.
Paris.
Yes, Paris. Yes, that's right. Yes, perfect. Yes. That, my friends, warrants a drink for a correct answer. I love it. Yes, here, and pops open the little jar and like thrusts it forward towards you, like, have a drink. Welcome to New Amsterdam.
First,
He's Pavloving us for correct
I can't even
answer.
take a drink right now. Hang on.
I'm sorry, I love this so much.
one, I love Rin. Two, who are you? You seem to know us.
I do. Well, no, I don't. I do. I'm Rin. Now I know you, and that warrants another drink.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Rin.
You better be drinking.
What are we drinking?
It's something I made. Try it. You'll like it.
You don't refuse gifts here.
Yeah? No.
I
try
mean, unless
something
you really
new.
want to be rude. I hope you're not rude.
I'll extend my hand for the jug.
What's in the jug, Ren?
I'm going to take a sniff. What does it smell like? Before I drink it.
Doesn't smell like much. It has a
So it's
faint.
vodka.
It has a faint. It has a faint smell, but not very strong. Just a very faint, sort of almost herbal smell.
Okay, well, I give it a good swig and a second one for the introduction, and
It's, they look very happy at this.
I will hand...
Some of my best gin, and it's gin.
Not
Yeah,
bad.
just-
I'll hand it over to Gej.
Hold on. The
You gotta
moonshine drinking way.
You
Gotta drink it
keep
like you
back.
drink moonshine.
I mean, if you
Yeah,
don't like it, I mean, they reach for like a little vial in one of their loops on their. I mean, I have, I have mead, I have wine, I have.
This is fantastic.
Um,
He hands it back.
No, I'm fine with gin, thank you.
perfect.
That was lovely.
You're welcome. I'm glad you like it. So, you're looking for your friend, right? That's why you're here, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Malcolm told me, come on, this way. And sort of like, excitedly, turns around, starts heading down off the pier, obviously knowing their way around, making their way through the crowds, kind of stopping and looking back. Don't bother with these. They're pointing to the different vendors. Just kind of shaking my head.
Tourist traps.
Yeah, and it is the whole I went to New Amsterdam, or my parents went to New Amsterdam, and all I got was this lousy T-shirt. It is, it is all the kitschy shit that you can imagine that you would find in 1919, but in New Amsterdam.
Bubbles and trinkets and shot glasses.
Yeah, tons of shot glasses for some reason.
Several of them.
And I imagine many of them are satyrs selling the shot glasses because drinking. And so
Yeah. Quietly
Rin
following.
Yeah, well,
Rin
Honestly,
alright.
kind of.
recorks the bottle and hooks it to a loop at their hip, and just kind of keeps sort of trotting down happily, very proud almost at accomplishing this, and just sort of like just as making their way down the street and kind of looking back. So, I mean, what's Paris?
Paris is a city across the pond.
Pond?
The giant
Maybe
body of water we crossed.
We call that an ocean here. I'm sorry if it's
No,
I'm sorry if it's like a mix. We call that an ocean. I mean, we could call it a pond.
yeah, different
if you want.
terminology. That is perfectly fine. But Paris is a city over there that we were recently at before our
Okay.
friend was separated from us.
I can't with you.
I'm here for it. I love it.
What's great is I was thinking it too. I was literally about to say, Ren, maybe they call a pond an ocean a pond. I don't know, but you beat me to it. I love it. So the city streets of New Amsterdam are lively. They're filled with people. It's a hustle and bustle. It's not as busy as London is during some of the heydays, but it's still neat to see this melding and meshing of life. One of the interesting things you don't see a lot of police force. You don't see a lot of the Bobby or anybody else that seems to be wandering around. Every once in a while, you'll see people dressed in very natural looking clothing, almost like a leather armor. You'll see them in light leather tunics, breeches, and like soft boots that have a sole that rounds up and then is stitched in with the leg in the front part. You come to learn that they're a type of shoe called a moccasin. They look very supple and very comfortable. The streets themselves are a mix of stone and mud and dirt, and they seem to not stop. And again, here and there, you see all manner of people. As you're walking through, you keep seeing like parts of the city that are like large boards that mark off different street names and things like that. There's one that you pass by, and the ringing sound of anvils echoes from there. As you walk by, it's kind of almost like a blast furnace feeling, that like if you're standing maybe 100 feet from a blast furnace, as heat just seems to just rocket down the alleyway and swathe you for a moment as you pass by, and you get the smell of like metal and forge fires and things like that. Yes, Ren.
I was just going to say, I turn back to the others and say, "Oh, one moment. I'll be right back." And I run over towards one of the, one of the nearest shops, and I pull out
Mhm.
one of the vials, and I just have a very quick conversation with the shopkeep there, and I say, "Here's, uh, here's what you needed. I'm sorry it took a little while, but it just, it took a little longer to ferment than I thought it would, and then I had to distill it. So, but it should be good for, hopefully your son's, uh, graduation. Uh, enjoy." And
The
kind of,
the figure that takes it from you smooths her beard, and then like kind of hefts this big leather belt, almost corset like thing, and you see her kind of bosoms lift and fall, and she just kind of takes it from you, and she reaches out and drops something in your hand. uh, from what you guys can see, it is actually like several small several small like glass beads and discs that are braided together in a certain way that you can see there's a separation of them. Um, she kind of nods at you. Fine work as always.
"Thank you, thank you. I pride myself. I serve. I grow the best plants, and I thank you for coming to, uh, rely on me. And I'll be back again. And anything you need, tell your friends."
And if you need more of those junipers, you let us know.
"Oh, always, always."
Uh, she takes it and uncorks it and takes a sip. She puts it away, avoiding the temptation, and goes about working her shop. He bounds back over to you guys.
Yep. They bound back over and, "Okay, I'm sorry. Business, you know."
Oh no, don't be sorry.
"Okay, good."
Looking at literally everything, it feels different here to him.
It is. It is.
It's lighter for Gesh. It
Mm.
is much lighter here.
Yeah, there's whereas everywhere in Europe is still recovering from this war, so everything feels heavy, and like the stress and tension from that just hangs palpable all over Europe, especially in those places that were rezoned and relined, and where land that once belonged to these people were now uprooted and handed over. Here it just seems like just life. It just seems like everybody's moving. And it does. It seems a lot less tense. It seems like there's just a lightness about everything. Um, as you walk, you can see several people. You pass by a pub, and you can hear people in there singing songs in a language that none of you have ever heard. And it's melodic, but like at the same time it has a rise and a fall and a cadence to it that's just mesmerizing, and it's unlike anything you've ever heard. And it doesn't sing from a head voice. It seems to come from ululations that form in the throat and chest and seem to be belted with the heart or with the spirit itself. You find yourselves like almost stopping for a second until your new satyr friend is like, hey. Eventually you wind your way back into more of the like the European settlement section. The street opens up into a wide circular area with a large like almost market or bazaar in the center of it. Is a huge circle under a single tent. The tent has seen a lot of wear and tear from storms and rain and things like that, but it still stands, and it's still, although faded, still brightly colored. The shops on the outside edge of it are wrought with everything that you could think of. And you've got people turning wood, turning steel. You have people working mechanisms, working watches and small things, big things, all of them. He's taking you to the crafters hall or the crafters market area. Ren, do you remember which one you're taking them to?
The craftsman's quarters, right?
Right.
Okay. Now look around and it kind of like, okay. I turn back to them. It's like, I don't come here very much, but I think it's this way. And we got to take a right up there. But it should be just pretty close. Um, so, is this person um, from the other pond across the, how's that
The
go?
ocean, yes.
Yes,
Across
across
the
the ocean.
ocean.
Yeah. Are they from over there too?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I don't want to seem rude. But may
You
I ask,
aren't, don't worry.
Rin, what are you?
Oh, you don't have satyrs.
You're a satyr.
Yeah. As if
I
that explains everything.
Well, I mean, satyrs aren't unknown to you. You've heard
Mm.
of them before, but in looking at him, you're like, definitely a satyr.
Just confirming with his brain because it's all
Yeah,
just picture books
yeah.
and
You're like,
in Irish stories that satyrs exist, just not in the
If you
flesh. So
weren't
he's
going
like,
to ask, I was about to.
he's just making sure that this thing that he used to see in a storybook is actually in the flesh in front of him because it's astounding to him. Like the things his mother used to say are just here, and he's like, "This is nuts. This is nuts, guys." All right.
Are
It's
you guys
like-
seeing this?
that can't be the only one seeing this, man.
He has goat legs.
Check
I'm,
it out.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. Be
Oh no,
rude.
no,
I
no!
just-
Don't apologize.
We were one of the folk who lived here, but when your folk came across, and we help out. We make sure that you have a good time. You're a little too serious, just a little bit too serious for your own good, but that's okay. We help out. We make sure that you live for the moment. So see a satyr. All you have to do, ask for a good time, and they'll give it. You might want to ask. Be careful which kind of satyr you go and ask that of, but depends on what kind of good time you want to have. No,
For
But,
a good time, call a satyr.
but we, I am a, I make, as you could tell, I make brews, and I grow a lot of the plants around here. I tend to, um, uh, the moving trees that you saw, the ents. I tend to them. I make sure that they're
Is that
healthy.
what those are called?
Well, it's a nickname for them. Tree ants, ents.
Okay.
You know, big, wooden, and slow.
You'll have to
whatever
forgive
you
me.
wanna-
This is my first time seeing a lot of this in person, and it's some information to take in.
Harris
And
doesn't
not-
sound very nice.
There are some nice people. There are also a lot of really not nice people.
Where are the moving? Where are the ents? Do they not have them?
We don't have any across the ocean.
Well, that needs to be fixed.
It does.
And more to the point, Moonin, is that you were raised with a whole other mythos,
Mm-hmm.
with Norse mythology being like mostly what you were raised with. There are no fawns or satyrs in
This
Norse
is
mythology.
all new to me.
So you're like, what is he? And then he's like a satyr, and you're like, ah.
Looks
Did
at
you say
Gej.
Did you say Surtur? did you just say asserter?
Are you combustible, Rin?
Are you gonna catch on fire?
Oh, yes.
Frost giants around here? Odin said he'd get rid of those.
It's very visible. Moonin is having a time processing this information.
This is
So,
fantastic.
I'll give as best, and you can embellish on this as you want, but I'll give as best a just primer to what you should and should not do here. Don't go here. Do go here. Don't do this. Do this. But then take it from a local perspective.
Yeah.
So I spend just those couple of minutes as we're making our way to the craftsman's quarters, giving that information, and you can fill that in however you need, if there's anything that you want to pass along. Otherwise, that's what they are doing.
Eventually, your friend leads you through the craftsman quarters to a business known as Weaving Woad, excuse me.
Yep.
Known as Weaving Woad. And you can see in here, it's honestly like a mix of handmade baskets, hand-tooled wooden things. All of it dyed and changed and modified, but it seems to be really lovely work, finely detailed work with the craftsmanship of the weaving of some of the things. You can see very nice details with regards to like some of the woodwork that they've done with some of the scrolling patterns and things. As he takes you in, the owner of the shop, or at least who you think is the owner of the shop, is a large man, round and rotund, who seems to enjoy the finest things in life that he can, and does not miss out on much. His cheeks are slightly rosy red, and his nose, although a bit broad, is also a nice bright red. His eyes give you the indication that he is not a distant fan of drink, but is yet intimately detailed with all of the effects that alcohol can have on one man's system. As you enter, he says, "Ah, Ren, friend, you've come to show me your newest batch." Yes.
Of course. I'm also. I
If you
Yes.
have business, don't let us interrupt.
No. It's I have a promise to keep, and I'm gonna keep that promise. Then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna talk. Oh, I have such a good batch for you. I'm so excited. I can't wait, but gonna have to wait just a bit. But it is really good to see you, and kind of pats the little satchel at their side.
Oh.
You'll like it. But where's Malcolm?
He's working in the back. Some new project he said he's working on. I'm not sure. It looks like a block of wood, but he's given me all of these, so I can't really deny him.
Block of wood. I mean, I can help with that.
Certainly.
Kind of turning to the others. Oh, come on.
All right. As he guides you through the shop, making your way through the shelves of items, they're not cluttered on there, but they're in some places they are precariously perched on the shelves. He leads you back through a small door that opens into a large workshop. Several tables are laid out with hand tools for planes and etching and things like that. Also, several projects that are half started. You see a man standing at one of the tables. His hair is a sandy blonde color. It's grown out and it's hanging down to past his ears, and it looks like a mop that's kind of hanging forward at the moment. He is diligently, with a very small hammer and a very small chisel, etching something into literally what looks like a block of wood from what you can see. But he carefully makes marks in there before pulling that piece away, setting it off to the side. It's delicate work, and you can see his hands, accustomed to such minute details, are going at a speed that would almost baffle you if it weren't for the fact that you've seen his hands working before. You know this man is Malcolm, Ren.
Mhm.
He seems to be absorbed completely in his work and has not paid any attention to your arrival.
I'll just gently wrap the door frame.
He looks up and he's wearing a pair of spectacles that are like jewelers. They have jewelers loops. They have like pieces that are full down. He looks up and then slides them off of his face. A large handlebar mustache that comes down and swoops back up into his head. No, this chin clean shaven. The small cleft that is familiar to you is there. He looks a bit older than when you last saw him, which he was in his late 20s whenever you met him. He looks a little bit older, but maybe that is the road weariness on him. He smiles and says, Ren, I see you found my friends. How
I did.
lovely.
I did.
Oh, you need a haircut.
Oh, it's and he pushes a strand of it, and it actually looks kind of becoming on him, but he pushes some of it back behind his ear and he says, it's Malcolm these days, until it's safe to say otherwise. I take it your trip was uneventful. I see.
Is anything
So.
with us uneventful?
Well, please, you have to fill me in on all the details. But one question, and first of all, it is wonderful to see you all safe here.
I hold up his hat bag.
Uh-huh. Do you have my my case with you?
Yeah, I hold up the hat.
Oh,
hat bag.
the briefcase, the
Yeah.
collapsing briefcase.
Well, it was in a
thank you.
hat container. but
Yeah, it was in a hat container. Ah, yes, my hat bag, and he takes it from you.
And there's a
Um,
loud sound as Rin uncorks a reunion of friends. That is a great opportunity for a toast and a round of drinks. What better opportunity and reason to celebrate?
I completely agree. Fill me in on all of the details and what's going on.
You have
And
glass.
as a matter of fact, and he takes this collapsed accordion style briefcase out and he opens it, and you see him moving his fingers through there, and he pulls out some small glass stemware.
Okay.
And then he kind of closes it again. It's not completely flat, but he's just closes it and latches it again.
Okay.
Hello, old friend.
And they go over and they begin to pour just a bit for each, and then distribute them to reacquaintances and new acquaintances.
To finding friends.
To finding friends.
Yes.
And we fill Colm in on everything since we lost contact.
Sparing no details.
Excellent. He is paying. He's paying very close attention to the story, making sure he misses no detail. He'll ask questions for further explanation. So when he went into the shop, he called himself Peter Dietrich and said that he was part of the directorate. And made sure to say it several. He made sure to say it several times.
Was very clear about the name.
I see. And so the fellow that you found in the industry, in the workers union part, it was fire, and he just summoned it from his hands or something. Yeah, wonderful. Interesting.
Before I forget as well, Philip wanted me to send you his regards.
Ah, Philip. How is he?
Better now that he's out of the situation he was in. And
I'm sorry, he prisoner.
I
You can
will go through and
take
explain to him the job we did for Annie to find him and the interesting series of events that was retrieving Philip from the director.
I'm. You're not so much troubleshooters this time around as you were troublemakers, it seems, but they deserved it.
To
What do we
be
know of?
fair, we weren't the ones causing the trouble.
It's true. What do we know of the directorate since your departure? Have we heard anything from them?
We know that Kristoff seems to be bending them heavily against us. We
Hmm.
had to pull some interesting antics to get out of town to get here. Using the Kieran tier that we had retrieved because it was either make it to the ship or looking at Kristoff and a line of gunmen pointed at us go to the directorate, which I doubt we would have left.
Hmm. I I'm sorry that I put you through all of the hoops that I had you jump through to get here. I am glad to see you. Gathered once more.
Yes.
What's a directorate? Is it
Oh,
like, does it like point you in a like where you're supposed to go? Is it like the
not quite.
governing?
it ultimately it sort of does. We didn't want magic to be used without consequence. And unlike here, they don't
Why
have
not?
a fun. Well, unlike
Fun.
here, they don't have a fundamental understanding of shared respect with one another, and so magic was in a way that it really shouldn't have been caused a lot of harm, and so the directorate was formed to help keep magic from being used in that manner again. These wonderful folk were actually part of a group that helped to make sure that magic wasn't being abused. Or at least, that's what we thought.
Magic can be abused.
Oh, indeed, my young friend.
Hmm.
Again, there's no mutual respect as it is here, where we understand that life and magic work hand in hand. There aren't any of the great sages and the grove keepers and the tenders like yourself to help keep one another in balance, unfortunately.
Another interesting thing we stumbled across while retrieving Philip Colm. It seems individuals are spontaneously gaining the ability to use magic.
Magic out of spontaneity as opposed to like learning it through written. I don't
In
understand.
instead of being I don't understand magic too much myself, but the information we gathered seemed that people with no background in magic would just wake up and suddenly could do and manipulate magic.
Not magic tied to deities either.
Yeah. And the
So
directorate seems to be gathering and hoarding these people for something heavily secrecy.
what do we want to bet that our old friend Peter Dietrich is a part of this?
Bet all my life savings on it.
Well, Emerus was saying that his name was on the sign-in sheet in the prison we were getting Philip out of. So he at least is down there occasionally.
This is troubling indeed.
I'm
All right.
troubled with how quickly he's gaining such influence over the directorate.
I'm troubled by this as well. Unfortunately, I'm not sure that we're ready to head back across the waters just yet.
Hmm.
I don't believe the Directorate should ever find its way here. Luckily, they've stayed out of it because these city-states seem to run in of their own accord, and because, as you can see, the magic here in this place is different, as is evidenced by my good friend here.
Mhm.
Do you think
I,
that
I,
Peter would send people across the ocean for us? For you, really?
I think that Peter, if he found out what this place could hold or be, would send a sizable force to try to infiltrate and wrest the magic away or gain more power. He is haunted and hunted by it.
I haven't seen anybody directing anybody around, so it's okay. I don't think they're here.
I agree.
Um,
I don't believe they're here either.
That's very good.
why would somebody do that? Don't they know that that like rips away the spirit of the land?
I'm sure he doesn't care.
Why? I don't understand. How can you not care about that? It's like it's what is.
Some people just want to gather power at any cost to the detriment of anything around them that they need to go through to get that power.
Ren, you and the people of this place understand the delicate nature of the weave that makes up magic and is inherent in the nature and the world around it. That every time magic is used, how it reshapes and reimagines the weave in that particular place, and how the destruction that could be wrought by that can be irreparable. They've only just started learning this across the ocean, as is evidenced by a place there that is dead to the world. The damage done is irrevocable.
Dead.
Yes. Nothing grows
Like
there anymore.
like a desert? I mean, I've heard of deserts, but they have a life their own. I mean,
Imagine,
every place has a life of its own.
imagine a swamp, a morass, a place where there is no life except that which is trapped there, and that isn't even a real life. It's a semblance of it. Undead things not able to pass into the next life, trudging about.
I mean, there's swamps all around. I mean, there's morasses. I mean, but it's teeming with it.
Exactly. That's why this is so unnatural, and why we must do what we can to ensure that it won't happen here. Luckily for all of us gathered here, that we are far removed from all of that. I don't believe it's going to be a trouble that we'll ever see. Again, I feel the forces here are strong enough to repel that. However, if he is clever enough to capture a Karen, who knows what he's able to do.
That's what we're here for, right? Stop him.
What are you here for? I mean, I'm glad to meet you, and I'm glad to help you find your old friend. But why are you here? Like what?
Our knowledge of why we're here ends at finding Malcolm here.
I needed a place that was far enough away from the Directorate that I couldn't be found. I know I couldn't use any of the previous places that I'd been to, and I wanted to be into a spot where I controlled the narrative, more or less. I made few allies here, studied some things, looked around. I found it to be a wonderful place.
It is.
It is, truly. I don't want to abandon my home. I don't want to leave it that way, but I could say that once I set things right, I would definitely be finding myself returning here. Bah, enough of those things. I think I'm done with my work for this evening. Let's go and have a bite. I'm famished. How about yourselves?
I want to take a quick look at
Mhm.
the piece of wood that was being worked on because it's of interest to me. I just want to take a look over and just make a perception check if I can, or whatever you want me to do.
Actually, give me a perception check.
All right. That would be a 23.
Okay, that is well exceeding the DC for it. It is actually, looking at it, you can see several seams that are almost imperceptible. You realize that this box slides and opens once you like do the right combination of pieces. It's a puzzle box of a sort. It's probably about that wide on all sides. So it's a big box.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't know, like, whatever's inside of it is well secured away. But you definitely can tell that it's a puzzle box of some kind.
Okay. I
And
mean,
given what you all know of Colm, that would be a very Colm thing to make.
Yes. A
I don't,
handmade
I
one,
don't, I don't
nonetheless.
fiddle with it or anything like
Yeah.
that. I just, look at it and it's like, oh, okay. Um, and then I turn back, and I look to the others and I say, I need to go talk to my friend out front before he runs out of his juice. So I will be right back.
Take care,
Absolutely.
Titan.
And so Rin goes trotting off
Excellent.
to
To make a deal.
Yep. And just
I
start
just
looking.
imagine you're just like a bandolier of flasks with different
Mhm.
things in them.
It's like my leather armor has like all these little loops with things tucked into them. It's like just pulling them out and
What
you get
size vial or flasks are they vial size, or are
yeah,
they?
they're mostly vials. There's like a couple that are more like hip flask size, but most are just like little vials, tasters, if you will.
Yeah.
Samplers
So
to
they can
whet to the appetite.
It's the sample that gets him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
the first snoot is free.
That's right. I provide a
Um,
service.
Marketing.
Colm actually takes the box, and you see him like sliding some pieces here and there and moving it, and then the top of it slides open. He then takes the accordion case and opens it up, and you see him take something out of it and pour it into the box itself. And it looks like, at first, you think it is a silver liquid, but you realize it is a fine powder. It flows out of the little beaker, the stoppered beaker, into the box with like no effort. It's just like water pouring out of it. Taps the beaker to make sure every last drop or grain falls into the box. Then he slides the box closed. And you watch as he's never done this in your presence before, because even the last when you fought him, it wasn't him. But you watch as he actually casts a spell on the box. When he is done, he takes and does something with the box again, and he slides it open, and there's nothing in the box. It's empty. It worked.
What are you
Close.
working on there, Colm? Malcolm, if you will.
We have an unorthodox villain in opposition to us. We need some more unorthodox ways of dealing with him. I've set up a small trap for him, if you will.
Okay.
It should at least keep him busy, if nothing more. But there's so much more I want to show you here. Come, let's go get something to eat. And he leaves the box sitting where it's at on the table, lays his tools carefully down into and places them in their correct holder pieces in the satchel, this leather wrap, and then he rolls the whole thing up and ties it so that he has all of his tools with him. He picks up his briefcase, pats it lovingly once more, and then takes you to his favorite pub. And we're only an hour in, but we're going to go ahead and take a short break. 10 minutes. Sound good to you guys? Refill our waters. Go make sure we have plenty of water for when you guys drop those points in there to make us hydrate and stretch and things like that. Don't forget that we are going on for another 2 hours, or at least another hour and 45. We are going to stretch legs, get water. Go ahead and retweet. Tell your friends that we're out here and that Breck is with us and playing as Ren. And it's a lot of fun. We are having a hoot. We'll see you all in about 10 minutes. Thanks. Never let it be said that we aren't people kind of our word. Sorry, it's a little bit more than 10 minutes, but sometimes conversations happen. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Troubleshooters. Thank you for the long break, for letting us take that little long break there. So, our party met back up with Malcolm, aka Calm, and they are going to dinner after watching him put this silver stuff into a box, do some wiggly magic, and then the silver stuff was gone from the box.
A fun box, small and square and dark. A fun box. Check out these cool fun locks. Yay!
What's in the box? What's in the box? I take in a box. Now I want to combine those two memes. I'm sure it's been done, but
Seems like it would be.
seems like it should have been done if it hasn't been.
It's
Do
the
it anyway.
internet. I'm sure it exists.
It's out there. I mean, all I can say is that poor Samsung AI. And if you don't know, you don't know. Anyways, you guys head towards Malcolm's favorite pub, also Ren's favorite pub. Decca, don't yell at me. Anyways, the place is already hopping. There is all sorts of lively music. It's a blend of European music.
Clopping. Excuse me, it's clopping.
I'm sorry, I apologize. Clopping. Yeah, yes.
I was about to ask if the building was legitimately hopping, considering all of the things that are moving around, or if it's stationary. People are just
It's
excited.
stationary, but there's a lot of excitement going on.
Okay, just making sure.
Does this place
Since
have a name?
Does it have a name?
Just curious what his favorite bar is.
Stairs at Breck. Does it have a name?
Everybody do the flop.
Let's see here. So, oh gosh, all the ones that are coming to mind are crude.
It can be a crude bar.
Singed whisker, I think. To the whisker. Something
The
like that.
whiskers? All right.
Yeah.
The plop hop in. Hi, Steve. Welcome. So making your way to the whisker, the singed whisker, you can see the placard outside of it is a treant who has like a beard made from moss, but like it's all carved out of wood, but the ends of the moss are like charred wood. And so the singed whisker. As you make your way in, you can see several people there, all manner of folks. When you were back home, you expected to see a large contingency of humans and then a smattering of things here and there if you were lucky. Here it seems almost as though the veil between the older races and this was much thin anyways. As you sit, you see several of the fawns or satyrs. You see large looking humans, like bigger than what you've ever seen. They seem to have furs and animal furs wrapped around their shoulders. Big long beards. Their heads seem to be a little bit like more forward. As a matter of fact, there's a little bit of excitement for you, Moonin, because you would recognize these as the Furbolg of the traditional Norse mythology Furbolg, not the Furbolg we have in D&D 5e. These kind of a quasi-giant race of men. You also see several more of the stout folk that are wandering around through here. One of them walks up to the bar, slaps a big meaty hand on it, and immediately, like a pitcher and a glass, he like leaves the glass, takes the pitcher, wrapping his hand in it, and just takes a long pull from the tall pitcher of beer. He sets it down and then walks back over to his table where his friends all cheer as he approaches. The place has music going, and again, it's a mix of things. Remember that this is New Amsterdam is a Dutch settlement, so you can hear music from the old world mixed with music from the new. And there are times where it's a bit cacophonous, but then it blends really well together, only to become wonderfully discordant again than to blend together. It's really an interesting take on it. As Malcolm enters, several of the stout folk yell over, "Oh, Reimer!" And he just kind of waves at them, and before taking a seat at a table, where one
You
of the
broke up there for just a second. What did they call him?
Allheimer.
Allhammer.
Allheimer.
Heimer. Okay.
Allheimer. And he just kind of waves at them, and they cheer and raise their mugs at him as he takes a seat. Ren, you are also regaled by some. They call you the brewmaster, or that sodden git is another thing that they call you.
I've already had like 4 drinks with friends, going around, saying hello, calling them out by name. Just very happy to just go wandering around and just making my way, and of course handing out samples as necessary to people who don't know me. But yes.
As a matter of fact, it's fun to watch him move around the table because you realize he's had 4 drinks and has paid for none.
Benefit
While,
of the business he keeps, I guess.
Maybe so. You do know that they do the same thing for Malcolm as people try to present him with drink, but he politely declines, takes one of them because he knows it's rude to decline, but he'll be like, no, I owe you for last time. I can't have you buy me a drink if I haven't paid you back yet. You watch as food is brought out to him, almost as though they knew what he wanted. The people that are serving the food, when they sit it down before you, you can see that they are, their skin has this beautiful tone to it, like a rich red cherry wood hue almost. They wear it almost looks like their clothing is woven from plant matter. They're beautiful, but they almost seem like very ethereal. Their faces are very much on the angular or planar, drawn and squared off and narrow. They set food down, and one of them traces a finger, and you can see that the nail, like you and I have a fingernail, her finger is one solid piece, and it doesn't look like skin upon closer inspection. Plant material of some sort, as though she were made out of living wood. And he says, "No, none of that. You'll not trick me again." She laughs and walks away from him, and it's a resonant sound that seems to bellow from deep, even though it's almost tinkling in the air. She then looks at the rest of you, and when she speaks, it's a very low sound. So you and I change the pitch of our voice by tightening or loosening the vocal cords, and those who train themselves can do things that others can't, falsettos or resonant noises deep in a lower register. She speaks, and it's like hearing a woman's voice, but in such a low register that it's weird. It's not unpleasant. It's just it makes this reaction in your mind kind of tingle. Your brain kind of gets this tingly feeling in it. But she asks you simply, "And what may I serve you?"
Yeah, it just kind of looks at what Colm has and what he's having.
Excellent. Same for you.
Sure.
She looks at Ren and she says, "I'll have yours out shortly." 1 cup of voice, please. She disappears, almost seeming to glide across the wooden floor. She's gone for a short period of time when she returns with plates of food. For you two, it does look much like Colm's meal, a simple roast of some sort, along with some leafy vegetables and some sort of tuber that are long and spindly. Um, he digs in heartily. She brings to your satyr friend what appears to be a salad.
Exactly.
But there is some bread alongside of it and grapes.
Of course. And I'll just heartily dig in.
Start digging into it.
Mhm.
The evening goes, and Malcolm starts to tell you about his work while he is here. That he has been working with Weaving Wood, the craftsman shop that he was in when he arrived. He took on his whole persona, leaving behind his past. And a lot of this, Ren, you're hearing for the first time because you did not know he had another name.
Mhm.
He talks about the work that he's doing and trying to prepare himself for his return to London, specifically to the Directorate. We know that Peter Dietrich has infiltrated the largest part of the Directorate. Upending his machinations will take great effort. More than I fear the 5 of us can handle. I'm trying my best to come up with some ways to break the holds that he has, because if he's enthralled people, then we'll need some way to stop that enthrallment. If it is something
Can you
less
break the weave
sinister,
around them?
there's the possibility of breaking the weave around them, but that's troubling in and of itself. I'm not sure what level of control he has. If we do something that upends the weave but ends up ultimately harming others, we're not really in a better position then, are we?
Is it like, the dryads and the nymphs, especially the nymphs, they like to, enchant and, lure um new friends. And I'm just, is it like that when you say that they are controlled, or is it deeper?
I feel that some may be in that sort of a stupor where he has cajoled them or charmed them into something. Others, I think he has. Well, there's no easy way to say it. I think he's turned some. And I believe my friends from across the ocean understand what I mean by that. He's made thralls of some of them, I assume. I have to assume at this point in time.
It's
First,
It's a
quickly,
term.
as he's gained influence, it's probably feasible.
I would assume. I don't know if he would start up higher than that. But given his position and the influence that he has to have started from the top. Or at least somewhere around there. But that would mean that everybody that sits on the council seat, or at least the majority of them, that he would enthrall. Because remember, it's not one single individual that holds power in the Directorate. It's a group effort. But it is majority rule. So if he is doing that, then that means that he has influenced the majority of those who sit in a seat of power. Which is troubling in and of itself. We knew he was powerful to begin with. But this is troubling.
I have a question.
Of course.
Would seeing one of our Sibyls give you a little bit of insight?
Perhaps.
What is a Sybil?
They're ones who are gifted with. I don't know how they do it, but they have the ability to see things, the future, the past, and sort of at the same time.
Hmm.
There are those who, within the magic that we have uncovered, there are those that can reshape fate on a small degree without destroying something. It's a school of magic known as divination. Their symbols are sort of along the same lines. They can divine, sort of see things in one direction or the other. Do you know where the nearest one is, Ren?
Well, it's a bit of a journey. It's, outside of the city. You know, and I can't guarantee that they would agree to see you. It would probably take um, a little bit more than just walking up and saying hello, but it's an option if it's important enough to you. Eh, I don't know if they can, but it's helped in the past to others who are willing to go through, yeah, a little bit of trials.
I think that, well, nothing ventured, nothing gained. What do you say?
Since we're grasping at straws, might as well grab at all of the ones we have presented.
True.
Certainly doesn't
An
hurt to
avenue,
ask.
and an avenue not taken could be the avenue that we need in and of itself. Thank you, Ren, for your offer. I think that it might be our best bet.
And I can't, I don't know if it'll work, but
Don't know that
if
it
you,
won't either.
but you need to bring proper gifts, of course. Um, they do not give their sight for free.
What sort of gifts would one bring?
The gifts of a proper revel.
A
You need to
party.
more than just a party. This is a revel. You live in the moment. You experience it all. Experience. You forget everything and just live in the moment.
Just go with wanton abandon into it?
Absolutely. No other way to do it. And if you give yourself to it, it's appeasing to it's appeasing to the spirits, to the gods, if you will.
I fear I may be far too English for that.
So we need to party and revel with them
What?
to
So you are here in the whiskers, right?
yes.
And you're having a drink. This is not a revel. This is a social occasion. This is a cause to celebrate, of course. Reunion of friends, talking business or strategy or whatever it is that you're doing. That's important, by itself. But a revel, it's food, it's drink, it's cavorting, it's dancing, making music. It's all of it. It's all the senses. It's the smells, it's the sights, sounds, it's the feel. It is losing yourself in the moment. And I'm not going to go into that song, but
One shot.
thank you. Do not miss. Anyway,
An opportunity.
yes.
Mom spaghetti.
Already?
Well, I mean that may happen afterwards.
I guarantee it.
But the point is there is no greater service amongst our beliefs than to give yourself entirely to the moment. It is, and letting the whimsy of the gods, the fates, to do with you as they please, to take over. Give yourself to the spirit of the vine and the fruit and the mushroom and the waters. The music is a beautiful, beautiful mixture.
God's time.
Well, I don't know about the lot of you, but I'm sold. British traditions be damned.
I'm not sure how I will take to a revel, but it's worth a try.
Okay then. What? How are you at dancing?
I don't.
Moonin is an amazing dancer, to be perfectly honest with you.
They reach down and they pull out a long wooden, like cylindrical instrument, the slightly flared end, couple little finger holes, and gives a little sort of like test notes. Well, you want to try it?
At least you avoided pulling out a pan flute. I'm just saying.
Nope, it's a shawm. It's a shawm. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
shawm.
I just thought about it though. I was like, oh, it's not a pan flute. At least it's not a pan flute.
It's not a pan flute.
I'm not doing this shit myself. I'm gonna look to Gej and like hold a hand out. Join me. We're gonna try this.
Or
I'm
do you
probably
need
no better than you are.
404 Gej not found. Gej.exe is no longer working.
Stop working. Yep. 403 Gej is hiding behind the drink.
Pretty much just like, I'm not drunk enough for this.
403 Gej declined.
Yep.
Does he have an alcoholic beverage in front of him?
I assume.
Okay.
I would
so
make sure that it would happen.
He's gonna look at it, slam it, no expression, and he's gonna slap his hand into Moonan's. All right, whatever. Let's do this.
I'll look over to dance.
I'll look over to the furbogs. Gonna get some drums, my friends.
You see them stand and two of them turn. They look in your direction and see Moonin and Gej, and they see you with your schwarm. And you watch as one of them like takes out a bozrin, the round one, and starts.
And I begin to play some moderately fast notes on the shawm, and I'm going to roll a perform check to see how well I do with this.
Please do.
That is a 17 on the dice plus 7, so 24.
The music that pours forth from the instrument is mesmerizing. Before you even recognize it, you are tapping your feet. Your legs are almost moving of their own accord, and you just can't help it. It's infectious. The sound of the drums gets into your heartbeat, and you find your body moving with the music in a way that you never had. I would like for both of you to give me performance checks, and I would love both of you to do so with advantage.
With advantage. I'm hoping for a Balter here.
Oh, vastly different.
I didn't like how that sounded.
That's okay. Mine were both the same roll. You said a performance?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Even with advantage?
I rolled 2 3s.
Oh my goodness.
You are a master.
I perform a Balter.
I rolled a 5 and a 17, so 18.
So you quickly gather that Gej gets into the music and is dancing with all abandon. Moonin is also dancing with abandon, but it looks like he has something wrong with his bones that do not prevent that allow him to like
He
one
stays
arm
in his
goes out.
box.
He's still dancing like Elaine. So, as a matter of fact, as you watch him do this weird gyration, I would like for you to give me another performance check, please.
Me or
Yes,
okay.
Ren.
All right. One more check here. I can show you on the camera. It's a natural 20.
That's fine. I believe you. You, even though you like have to fight back, screwing up your face and then laughing,
I'm laughing.
you do maintain the music and carry the song to the end where the Furbolg wrap up the sound of the song. They just Gesh, you watched all that happen.
No, he didn't. He didn't see
So
it.
it happened. So it happened.
I'm not a
Liz,
dancer.
Liz is standing there like, and Emrys, you don't know where Emrys is. He might be another person. He might be under the table. You don't know right now.
Emrys did not wish to dance.
Home
You can dance
goes.
if you want to.
You can leave your friends behind. Sorry.
But if your friends don't dance,
If they don't dance, then we no friends.
no friends of mine.
Gage would have started off really rigid,
Not being
really
associated
stiff.
with you.
Why not?
Look
This
at
is
that.
not being associated with you.
It would have started off really rigid, really stiff, and then just like the more he got into it, just whatever.
Is it Van Damme dancing from like Bloodsport? I think is where he's got the. Please,
And then
I mean that
split,
might
and
be.
then does the split.
Yeah, that is yes, exactly where he goes in and does the splits and then comes back up where he's wearing like the gray pants and then like the tank top. It's like what a choice of outfit we made there.
It is
So
not easy to dance with all of these firearms.
The guns, that's what we're blaming it on, is the guns.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Giant leather holster stopping my arms from going all the way down? Sure, I'll use it as an excuse.
Oh my goodness.
I'm a soldier, not a dancer.
I'm not encumbered by these things.
This is
So I'll walk over
absolutely-
to Moonin and think something.
Underwear.
Are you hurt?
Underwear. Are you okay? That looked unpleasant.
I'm okay.
I'll like put my hand on his shoulder or up towards like upper arm and cast Cure Wounds because I'm just making sure. I realize there's no injury. But
You feel you've felt this healing magic before. You feel the warmth of healing magic roll through you, but it doesn't really like, feel anyway.
Yep. It's like, no.
So, with that being said, you now have a plan of attack at least, or where you're going to go to next. The evening plays on. You all enjoy food and drink, but eventually retire for the evening, finding a place to stay, which is not hard to do.
I'm going to return back to my home and tend to my plants, tend to my stills, tend to my, all of that.
I just imagine this little wooden house built into as part of a tree, and as you walk in, there are just copper stills all the way around, and just like copper tubing everywhere.
Arranged by dwarven friends of mine because I that's not something I work with myself. But yes.
Just brew it.
Yep. But
Just
yeah,
brew it.
it's my life. It's my life's work, um, and I take pride in it. And I go around and I do like speak with plants and actually make sure that they're happy. And I go out and I talk to the tree ants down on the dock, make sure they're okay.
Mhm.
And, make my rounds to make sure everything you know is okay, especially after this talk of this directorate thing.
Yeah, it did not sound like a good thing.
No. And if I can, I'd like to just like ask around, like if anybody's seen anything unusual, beyond some of these strange outlanders. Anything unusual, just something for
Give me. So you're talking to the people and trying to engage with them about the happenings of the place and if they've seen anything strange.
Mhm.
Give me persuasion checks.
Sure.
Give
How many
me
would you like?
how long do you want to spend at this? Let's say give me a persuasion check for every half hour you want to go with this.
Probably 3 or 4 of them then.
Okay, go for it.
All right. So first two, I have. Hold on a sec. Take a look at my character sheets. Persuasion, I have a +7. Very charismatic druid.
As opposed to other druids.
Yep.
If you've ever played Baldur's Gate 3, I think there's only one charismatic druid in that entire thing.
So the first one's a 13 total.
Okay.
The second one is a 22 total.
Okay.
The third one is 19 total, and the last one is an 18 total.
Okay. It's slow going at first. It's people are trying to get to where they're going, get to their houses for the evening, or they're trying to get to their places. So the conversations are no, not right now. Sorry, I don't have any money, kind of thing. They just walk on. You do find the groups that are coming from the pubs, and they are a lot more conversational with you, especially since they've had a few in them. Since you are kind of a fixture and you're known, you're not like this famous person.
I'm leaning on the folk hero background that I have.
Yes.
So, yeah.
But you are known you're not like Hollywood famous today. You're influencer famous, kind of. So like people do who know who you are, but like not everybody. As you start to make your way and people are like, oh yeah, it's the brewmaster, they kind of talk to you. Some of them mention there was, so you don't really call it the Veil here. It's just this kind of place where you kind of like this place where you live and this other place kind of merge or make a conflux. Ley lines are kind of a good portent for where those are at. But the people that live here in this land, the humans don't call them ley lines. They call them something else, and my brain is blank on right now. But they tell you that there's been a lot of activity recently at those confluxes, that there's been light shows in the sky that aren't normal for this time of year. Some people even mentioned that they were walking near one of them, which they're kind of they're revered place. So they're not, they're well tended to, and people generally pay a lot of respect to those places. Somebody said that they were walking near one and the stars weren't in the right place, and they like blinked and found themselves several hundred feet away from where they were, either like walking in the wrong direction or walking another one.
And that kind of sounds familiar, doesn't it?
You are very familiar with that. But their concern is that it seems to be happening not like a lot more, but with more frequency than what you've heard of these stories in the past. What really terrifies you is that there is speak of stories of the angry spirits, the things that the people of this land pay reverence to as vengeful spirits and things that you don't want to tie to being more active, finding a body, finding a felled person that clearly upset the spirit of this land, and they were dragged until their feet were no more.
And I'll make like suitably like horrified faces,
Mhm.
reactions to that, and like, just shocked.
There are
Where was this?
um
Do you know?
yeah, it's in the forest, and they tell you it's a conflux place that's not far from the grove that you are familiar with.
Oh. Um, Thank you. And I'll just like, just give him him, her, them,
Mhm.
uh, you know, I'll like take their hand in mine and like, say
Mhm.
thank you, and like uh, leave some of those, beads,
Mhm.
and the string of beads. And it's like,
Oh,
thank you.
thank you. They the one thing that you catch is a group of hunters coming in from like out in the wild. You can
Hmm.
see them. They have their recent kills strung up, and it looks like they're small game. Rabbit,
Hmm.
some sage. So no, it wouldn't be sage fowl, but um,
Pheasant or
pheasant, bird, small birds, and things like that.
yep.
Um, they catch your eye because they are familiar with you. They don't trade you with beads. They trade you in like
Hmm.
other things.
Right.
Um, one of them actually is trading with you for one of the fowl that he killed,
Okay.
for some of your drink.
Hmm.
And he tells you, "Mm, the spirit of the forest is angry. We don't know why, but we've heard the sounds of it in the woods. Mm, it's not happy. I would suggest you make offerings to the land and appease whatever's there. Don't venture far away from the city."
Thank you, friend. And
He pats you on the
conclude
shoulder.
the trade, back and forth.
Yeah.
You know,
Um.
I'll I'll take the feathers and and the the skin, and the bird, to use later.
So Ren is useful in a lot of ways to you guys, and one of the ways that Ren is very useful is that he speaks English, but he also speaks the native tongue of the lands, the people, the humans that live here. He understands their language and speaks with them quite often. None of you are around him at the time to hear that, but out of character, you would know.
Hmm.
I don't know if I filled you in on that, Breck. There aren't languages such as Elven. I mean, there is, but when we pick languages, it's literally languages that you would speak. So, like Spanish, Dutch,
Hmm.
French, things like that. Um, so, you gather information that the lands are upset, that there's something that is going on that is upsetting them, and angry spirits have returned to this land or have risen up against those who seem to be doing things or things that they shouldn't be doing. But the night passes on, and you yourself find rest, sort of. As you are casting about for sleep, that is exactly what you're doing. You find yourself tossing and turning. You find yourself unsettled. There seems to be something going on. Dream flashes through, and the portents therein trouble you. You see the forest. You see the forest with rain, but as you look, you can see that the rain is mixed with something else and it runs red. And you recognize that patterns of blood spatters here and there. The rain falls heavier, and you realize that it's not coming from the sky, but it seems to be coming from something. The forest itself calls out to you, and you see the forest start to wilt. Entire groves have been gone,
No.
as though blighted by something. No fire. It seems to be something else. As you watch, a form, a figure, strides past you. You don't know why, but instinctively you hide your face and try to make yourself as small as you can. Impossibly tall, it walks on hooved feet, but not hooves like yours. Deer legs, powerful. Long clawed hands seem to stretch down past the body. You see a mane of fur around its neck. And what terrifies you the most is the head. It's a deer's head, but it has been stripped of all the skin. Its bare bone covered in viscera here and there. The antlers, as it walks past, you can see feathers tied in them and other things. Its hands drip red. It lets out a howl that chills you to the bone. As you find yourself breaking from the dream, you still can't help that last sound, that cry. At first you thought it was anger, but you realize it was crying out in pain. You unfortunately do not get the benefit of a long rest, and you suffer from 1 level of exhaustion.
Okay.
As the dream haunts you.
And I wake
Any
up.
guesses as to what that is?
Oh boy.
When didgeridoo don't.
Didgeridoo.
How about you when didgeridoo don't?
How about you Wendy go ahead and guess at that one?
No.
I heard the deer legs, and
Yep.
immediately my brain was just like, oh.
Yep.
Dimma, don't mess
Don't.
with me.
How
All
about
right.
you? When didgeridoo don't. We're not. No. Just take that and put it over there. Over there.
So I'll wake up and sort of like just in a cold sweat, just look around, like immediately, like trying to shrink into the bed and. Oh. Okay. Okay. Maybe this
You
is
guys
happening
sleep
for-
just fine.
Yeah. Maybe this is
Yay.
happening for a reason. Maybe this is. I'll start gathering my stuff around, tending to the plants a little bit. Maybe not as detailed as I normally would. Pretty eager to go and go meet with the others. So wherever it is that we had prearranged to go, whether it's the woad or back to the whiskers or wherever it is, I will pretty much make a beeline there.
Okay. Back at the Whiskers would be where you would probably meet up at.
Okay.
And sure enough, they seem to be rested and enjoying a hearty breakfast there. Which in turn, an English fry breakfast, something you're used to. The breakfast here is a lot different. Sausage and bacon and eggs and beans, the things you would find in a good English breakfast. They seem to serve you it is coffee. They do serve you coffee, but they also have this thick porridge that they serve you. You see that they drizzle honey and drop fruit in it and mix it around. It's not an oat. It is not an oatmeal. It's something else. It's very filling. It's not very tasty. Thankfully, the honey and the berries help to make that a little bit better. Um, but otherwise, the breakfast is pretty tasty. They do serve you slices of like slightly staled bread, but they smear a jam on there, and it ends up being really tasty. When it's all said and done, your friend Ren appears as you are enjoying your breakfast, looking a bit worse for wear.
Yeah, the pep in their step is not quite there. Um, they walk in. They still greet people. Good morning. Good morning. Just sort of pull out the seat and just kind of flop into it.
You okay there, Ren?
Let's break our fast first, and then we can talk. And I'll look over to whomever the server is, and like get fruits and you know fruits to eat for breakfast, oats and
Yeah,
porridge.
yeah. They bring you your food and sit it out in front of you, and it's one of the dryads, and she looks at you, and you can see concern on her face, and she just kind of like she runs a hand through your hair and just kind of like pets you on the back of your head, and she just kind of like
I'll lean
clicks her
into it.
tongue at you. Yeah, you can tell she's definitely concerned about you.
And I'll say in the native tongue, have you felt the connection with the grove breaking?
And
Seem concerned.
she speaks back to you, and she says, "No, but it's troubled.
Yeah.
Do you know why?"
No, no, but might know where to look. Uh, I have to look. Maybe my friends here can help. Maybe it's tied to all of this that they're talking about. I don't know,
Maybe.
but can you talk to your sisters and see if they know anything? Maybe they might know something more, if you may.
I will. I will speak with them.
Um, and I'll just put a hand like sort of on the the side of their face, like we'll make it right. We'll make it
And
right.
she leans, like she does that thing where she just kind of presses her head against it for a moment.
Yep.
And she just kind of, you can see she looks a little sad, but she nods her head at you. Um,
And then back into after that, sort of like you're looking at me in this weird way. It's like,
yeah, they're speaking a language that, like, guys.
I'm just kind of watching, eating my porridge.
You all look sad.
there's reason to be. Despite the mirth of yesterday's reunions, there's still very much cause for concern. Um, Around the city, on the outside of the city, not so much in, as far as I'm aware. But there are things that might relate. Is Malcolm here, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
There are things that might relate to what you speak of with this. I don't know if it's tied to this directorate or this corruption you speak of, but there is something, and it is affecting me. Looking to Moonin and to Gej. we, as Malcolm said, we are tied to this land very tightly. Um, it's a tether. It's something that I can just feel, that I can actually reach out and feel it almost. It's very real to me. It's less real to some others, but I feel a pull. I was chosen by my people to go through a series of rituals, training, learning very old ways. And I am lucky in that. And normally it's a cause for celebration. Normally it is very, very uplifting, but lately, and kind of lowers his voice to just, or their voice down to like just above a whisper, so that only you can hear them, and so that the rest of the patrons. But I'm not going to actually whisper, but
Age whisper.
yeah, stage whisper. Yeah, definitely. The people here who are like me, like, uh, you know, and kind of gesturing to the dryad, um, and to some others. There are those who are more closely linked to the earth, and they are the ones who are troubled, much like me. Something is happening outside of the city, and it scares me. But we don't need to have this heavy talk now. But it may be a direction to head in looking into whatever it is that you are interested in, as it is outside of the city. But what do you think?
I think it's only fair that we help you for helping us.
Aid for aid
Agreed.
is usually a good bargain.
I don't know what'll be found there, but there are those who have been found lifeless in some of these places. And the spirits are angry. And that's all I kind of leave it at. And then I just start kind of eating, kind of just pensive and eating. Nowhere near the sort of joyful mood that they had yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm,
Yes.
do you have any reading material I could look through here over breakfast on the peoples of this land? Information that we might need if we're venturing out? This is all very new to me, and Rin has explained some of it, but we were very heavily warned upon arriving to follow the laws of this area and to honor the land. But I just am looking for some clarification on like parameters to travel in. Or maybe Rin can help fill me in here. I don't want to be a burdensome presence while we're here.
I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'm not as familiar with the people here. I'm still learning. There's a rich history where we're from, but unfortunately, when it comes to this place, is all I guess. I know that they're broken up into different nations, but they themselves collectively are a people marked by slightly different beliefs or heritage. They look no different, as much as like you and I look any different. We're both just vaguely European. I know that in this area, think that this might be either the Shinnecock the Shinnecock Nation, or it could be the Penobscot Nation. It might be even the Onondaga Nation. It's hard to tell. Here's what I know. When it comes to honoring the land, they're very reverent with regards to their ancestors. The land itself is a living thing and must be revered and respected. Anything taken from the land, any life given for their own nourishment or advancement, they are very thankful and very, very much they respect and revere it. They almost make an honor of the kill that they have. It's actually
I'm
very wonderful.
I like speak up and that's not what you do.
No, fortunately, no.
Not
I'm
everyone thinks the things that they take.
I'm familiar with that sentiment from my heritage, but not everyone from where we come from shares the same.
Land is to be taken for whatever purpose you deem it. Animals are to be killed for whatever you need them for, and you don't bother telling them thank you for it.
You- They look troubled by this. They don't say anything. Um, just sort of heave a heavy sigh and continue finishing their breakfast.
Let's see. Colm does try to, let's see. Colm tells you that while they're subnations and different things, he can tell you that one of the major tribes or nations in this area. I'm not really a big fan. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of the word tribe. I like nation. One of the nations in this area, that are like really respected for their ferocity, and not to say that they're savage, but just their prowess
Mhm.
and their ability, is the Mexican nation. And he says that more of the accepting and like a lot of the ones that you'll see in this area are the Oneida. I think I said that right, or Oneida nation. He says a lot of the people that you'll see around here are probably Oneida.
Oneida.
Ow, no, I try my best.
Pronunciation.
I-
Pronunciation.
As a person, I grew up in the Northeast, and
Mhm.
yeah, these are all names that I'm very used to in my
Mhm.
history and growing up. And yeah, it's Oneida. That's how
Yeah,
that's how
I
know
was doing a lot of research on nations in the Northeast and then
Yeah.
nations in New York, because that's where New Amsterdam is. And it's like,
Mhm.
all right, nations in the Southeast and nations in.
I was born in New York, so yeah, these are all very, very familiar terms to me. Yes, so it's Oneida.
Well, it's getting out of character for a minute. Troubleshooters has been a real passion for me, but it's also been a real challenge because not only am I having to create the story, but I'm also having to do a lot of history. I learned more about the Austria-Hungary Empire prior to World War One and post World War One, how Wallachia was a place and Romania, and then they all got kind of jumped together as Romania or as part of Hungary, and like I was looking at maps of land post and prior to and post war, Yeah, I've been doing like a lot of research. Just like, I'm gonna get a history degree when this is all said and done.
Oh, I appreciate that. It's actually it's good. I like it.
Yeah, these guys know that I go all in when it comes to like trying to make everything immersive and cohesive. Even whenever I talked about the end of the Great War, uh, changing it to be the Treaty of Versailles to the Treaty of Innsbruck, and Innsbruck is a real place. It is in Austria. It was in Austria-Hungary, and now it's at the Austria-German border. And so, like, I picked it specifically for where it was at and everything. So it's like, all right, so let's go ahead and see what kind of weapons we have. If it's something that doesn't make sense, like even Moonin has a pistol that, for all intents and purpose, even though it was a valid handgun or a pistol for that time period, because it's a model 1911, but the model 1911 is an American pistol, so I took some liberties there. But for the most part, everything else is like, this is a weapon that they would have for the French, and so forth and so on. Right, back to the story. Sorry. So Malcolm tries to give you all the information he can about the people of this place, about their heritage and their leniency. He goes all the way back to history with he doesn't talk anything about the fated Columbus expedition because of the fact that, one, it was much further south. Two, because of the fact that it returned with only one vessel surviving the trip, that there is a collective understanding that he is a horrible, horrible man at his job, and nobody really speaks of him other than to say, don't do what he did.
Don't be that guy.
Don't be that jerk. Nobody wants to be that jackass. He does tell you that, again, there are 3 successful city-states that are herein. New Amsterdam being one of them. Boston is the other one. And then there is the one at Roanoke. He will tell you that while he does know passage to Boston, being very close, is easy to do, he said the Roanoke is a very secluded place, that they don't really do a whole lot of interacting with others. It says it's not that they're, they keep outsiders out of the way, but it's not as popular a landing place as New Amsterdam or Boston. So
They're not xenophobic, they're just not as accessible.
Right. They're not xenophobic, but they are very much more cautious about things that they let in. From where you're at, the trip to Boston would be traveling by horse. I know how many hours it takes to get there by car. I'm doing math in my head. Hang on. I think it'd be like close to 2 days, if I'm not mistaken. About that.
If you triple it for ducks, it would be 6 days.
Duck power.
That fun fact will live on with you all forever, and I enjoy it.
It's duck power and bowling ball man.
And wet pants.
And wet pants. So now if we have the bowling ball man equated to how many ducks power it would take to hurl a bowling ball wrapped in wet pants. All right, internet, get on it.
That's a lot of...
That's how you know if they're a witch. How do you know if they're a witch?
If they weigh as much as a duck.
She turned me into a newt.
I got better.
Obligatory.
Colm is ready to set out as soon as everybody is prepared to go. He wants to know, is there anything within the city that you would like to look for, look at, and see? Moonin, I need you to give me a perception check. Por favor.
Bad
Would
favor.
I notice this with a passive?
Roll, and then I will let you know.
Okay, because the passive's 22,
Passive works.
and my roll is higher.
Oh, your roll is higher?
Yeah.
That's fine. Your roll would work. It doesn't strike you until just now. You've seen the hunters coming and going.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen people working the lands and things like that. You have not seen a ton of firearms. As a matter of fact, there is a very small number of them that you've seen. The ones that you have seen are not the rifled breech load or magazine fed one that you
More
have.
musket style.
They are more black powder rifles.
Okay. Me frantically looking to see how much ammo I have.
Otherwise, we're going to bust your ass back down to a black powder rifle.
Time to go to the blunderbuss, boys. Wah!
He's
That's
truly
right.
firing grape shot from that thing.
Yep.
Grape shot with sharpshooter. Ooh.
Oh, that's
Oh,
just
God.
disgusting. Why? Why would you? Look, the great thing about flintlock pistols is that you fire them, then you turn around and club somebody to death with them.
Gedge would inquire about how and where to purchase a spear or get the equipment to make one.
When you mention that, Colm looks at you and says, "Oh no, is it gone?"
Arthur's gun.
He puts a hand on your shoulder and squeezes it, and it's like, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, my friend. Let's get you an exquisite spear. It won't be
Stop.
Arthur, but
Just has to do the job.
maybe we can call this one Artie. No?
No. Not the
Herbert.
same.
Sure.
Maybe
man.
Romulus or Remus. One of the two. Maybe Mars will like that better.
Maybe?
Hey, Rin.
Kind of push the plate away from me as I finished up and kind of
It's like,
Yeah.
full belly.
yeah. Still looking at you through somewhat tired eyes. Just the faintest bit of, bags under the eyes. Yes, Moonin.
Are you familiar with any blacksmiths who handle intricate works?
I will make a history check because my character probably, while knows the shops and some of the owners and things like, doesn't necessarily know the business that they do
Mm-hmm.
because I'm more interested in purveying my wares,
Yes.
not theirs. So it's an 11 on the dice plus my history, which is +1, so 12.
You do know of a few blacksmith shops in the neighborhood. Whether they deal with intricate things you're not so familiar with. I mean, outside of like making filigree work on handguards and things like that.
Well, I can take you down to the masons and the crafters, and you can look around. But I have a couple of places I might know, people I've done business with, but that's all I can do. But if you know what you're looking for, that might suffice, I think.
More
Gej,
Go ahead.
sorry, Gej, give me a percentile roll. Sorry, go ahead.
I'll say more informational at this time. I have a decent amount of ammunition for my firearms on me, and I have the knowledge and the tools to make more, as I'm trained to do so.
Mm-hmm.
It's just if I need to source some materials if I want to do so.
Yes, because casings are not bullets.
No.
No. I actually had to re-roll one of them because I dropped one of them to the nether and it's dark on my floor and I can't see it. So
Okay, bye.
At least
just
it's
there
not a
now.
D4.
You're right, it's not a hate pyramid. 76.
76. You are able to find a weapons shop. It's not a weapon shop in the traditional sense of D&D. It's more of like they make certain things that you can use, but they sell tools as well. It just happens to be that like that's a weapon you use to hunt with. So they have things like bows and arrows. You do see crossbows in there, as well as spears and swords and things like that. As you're looking through, a lot of it is, I mean, they don't have like it's not like a barrel full of spears, it's just they have a few on there. There's one that you see though that kind of, it doesn't really like ooh, but you kind of keep doing that thing where you're like, you look at it again and then you look at the others and they're really good, but then you just keep looking at that one. Like when you go shopping for a pair of shoes, you find that one pair. There are a lot of them that are really cool, but then there's just that one pair that seems to just sit right with you. And there's just that one spear. You're not sure what it is. The shaft of it is made from some dark wood, but you can see that it's tooled. So that it has like a spiral down through it. It's got a leather grip just below the spearhead, perfect for throwing. You can see that it has actually like a counterbalance on the base of it, made from a copper fitted butt cap. That seems to be the spear itself, and like is not just a plain spearhead. It actually has the prong or the prod that sits into the haft actually comes up and narrows into the neck before making more of a leaf shape than a typical like arrow shape. When you lift it, it feels so well balanced. You actually like put it on your fingers and it's perfectly balanced on there.
But he'd get that one if he could.
Okay.
He doesn't know what currency they use because he's seen a couple different things floating around.
Well, you have you would have, honestly, you would have francs because you were there. You would have Deutschmarks because you were there. You would have English currency, so like shillings for coins, pound sterling, silver coins. You would have some bills on you. So it really, that's what you would have on you.
He'd play with it for a minute, let it roll in his hand, see if it feels as good as it seems to. And eventually he would kind of shuffle over to the counter and lay it there.
All right. The man that stands up, his skin is a light brown, like walnut color, and you can see that he is, the lines in his face of someone who spent his lifetime outside. But then when he stands, you can see his face make just a slight wince of pain. And he moves over to you. His English comes out a bit broken, but he asks you, you know, would you like to purchase this? He says, what do you have for trade or pay?
And he would lay out his different types of currency. Are you hurt?
Old injury. Can't move as well, but I'm okay.
I think if clerics have any spells that could help this man.
You might.
I'm trying to think if clerics have spells that could help this man. I'm sure there's something.
Reincarnate, right? That'll do.
Yeah, just kill him and bring him
that'll
back.
fix it. Do you feel better now? But I'm a gnome.
But you can
Sorry.
move.
But look, you
can
can click your
dance
heels
now.
together. You can click your heels together now.
Aha. Hey, stop. I'm sorry.
That is some chaos cleric shit right there. Oh, I'm sorry you're feeling bad. Dead. And revive. And you're back. Look at you feeling great.
That's more a druid thing. I don't think clerics actually get that, do they?
Clerics do
What?
not actually get
Reincarnate?
reincarnate,
No.
which is
They
a
do not.
travesty.
Chaos
Everybody
druid.
Yes. Well, that's kind of what I'm playing.
Oh, man.
He's not wrong.
Eh.
I don't think a simple healing spell would do him good.
Make an argument for a spell that you think would, even if it doesn't say it in the description. But if there's something that you're like, hey, I have this, and this makes sense because of this, make it convincing.
You can come back to me. I'm gonna peruse and
Okay.
see.
I assume I'm also in the same place because I'm really not going to wander around.
Sure.
I'll wander up to the owner, and this is going to be a weird question, but do you ever have gunpowder come through?
Yes. Occasionally. Why?
One, that is awful, chat, and I support it. Two, I'd like to possibly purchase some if you have some available.
Okay. He, looks at Gej and kind of holds up, a hand to indicate just a moment. He shuffles over to one shelf, and you see him bend down. He picks up he like stoops down and then comes up with a cask that's about yay big around. He brings it over to you, and it has a very familiar smell to it. As soon as he gets it over to you, you're like, know what that is?
And how much would you be looking for this?
Again, he asks you, what do you have to trade?
I relay the types of currency currently in my possession.
He just kind of shrugs and says, what use are those? Paper and, well, actually your pound sterling would be silver.
Mm-hmm.
And they're called pound sterling for a reason. He looks at the silver coins and he takes a couple of them. He hefts them in his hands. He takes a couple and puts them in there. Start looking through your backpack.
That's exactly what I was doing, and I realized I have guns and clothes and bullets.
Yes. I have guns, clothes, and ammo. I have lawyers, guns, and money.
Actually,
Thank you, Warren Zevon.
I never found out what this was, but I don't know
What
if
do you
I want
have?
a sliver of polished wood.
A sliver of polished wood.
That is the description you gave me, and then in parentheses it says wand. But that was
Yes.
after we lost Colm.
Yes, that is a wand there.
Mm-hmm.
I assume that your local interpreter is with you.
I can be there, yeah.
Are
somewhat
you
distracted. I'm like, okay, this is weird. Sort of just looking around, but I can be available, yes.
are you pulling the sliver of wood out of your backpack?
Yes, I'm not sure if this is something you may be interested in.
Ren, give me an Arcana check, please.
Now I do use a U wand as my druidic focus, so I'm
Okay, so you recognize that it is a wand that he is pulling out.
Moonin, where did you get that?
I found it in a ruined shop.
Probably has magic.
It seemed interesting at the time, so I thought I'd hold on to it.
That's possibly quite powerful. I don't know what this dust is or whatever it is that you're trading for, but that's could possibly be very potent. So just you should know this.
Probably have someone look at this before I trade it. And slide that back into my bag.
Ha! Mm.
Yeah.
So he again, these are coins, so you're holding again, pound
And
sterling coin.
silver.
So
Yeah.
it's silver coin, and he actually takes it and says, takes a few of them. Probably ends up being like 5, not like 4 of them. And hefts it and says, "This will work."
Just so I can keep track of my currency on my end, how would I equate that in D&D Beyond?
Like, let's get back. Can I get back to you on that one?
Okay, yeah.
So that I can get back to you on that one.
I just want to make sure I'm actually keeping track of how much money I have and am spending.
Yeah, because I don't want to tell you, oh, it's this, and then realize, wait, that's dumb.
Sure.
That's dumb.
I will add a keg of gunpowder.
Cask.
Yes, sorry.
Cask. Keg.
Walk out of there. Cask.
It was a cask of Amontillado, not a keg of Amontillado, because that would have been a different party.
Yes. Okay. Keg of gunpowder.
Sorry to be that guy.
No. It is the proper term. Cask it is. Those are very, very large difference in size by term.
He rolls the keg out of the place.
Okay, guys, I'm ready to go.
And then it blows up.
Let's blow some shit up.
So I heard we have a problem in the woods. I think I can take care of it.
The woods, I mean, not the problem. We're just gonna get rid of the woods.
No.
Strangely
I feel like
enough,
that
I
would get
light
me
a
in
torch
lot
and
of
I'm like,
issue.
what is this?
Pioneers, you've tried these
Jesus
babies
Christ.
for miles.
He's like, it's so dark, I can't see. What is this?
That's why it's in a sealed casket.
And,
These candles are making funny noises. Does anybody else hear this?
and then Gej's shirt comes into play. All of us have a character sheet generating incident.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
there we go. This shirt.
How much damage do I take? Roll 46. Okay. All right. What'd you get? This? All right. Roll 46 again. Am
I'm
I rolling a new
new
character?
You're rolling a
All right. You crazy kids. Back to it. After your ally purchases the cask of gunpowder, damn it, I almost said keg too.
Oh.
It just became a whole other game. The old man looks at you. Did you have a spell that you wanted to? What did you have?
It's a restoration.
Okay.
If I need to use it as a higher level to, go and fix up this man's probably arthritis and rejuvenate the cushion in between his bones and stuff, then that is what I will do.
Okay. You and I both know what lesser restoration is used for. However, I think in this, that's a really good idea. So,
Your hands. Can I see your hand?
he offers them to you. You can see lines and age on these, both of them. He holds his hands out to you. You can see lines. They're hands that are used to work. They're hands of someone who was proud of where he was, and you can see though that he's regaled to this place just because he has to. This is where he's at, and he holds
So-
his hands out to you.
Gej grabs with his hands that are less proud of where they are from, but just as gnarled and scarred, and very gently places another hand over one, and I'm going to use magic. It's not going to hurt you. And he is going to cast Lesser Restoration over the gentleman.
You watch as he seems to like sigh, and his body just sort of relaxes, and he flexes his hands, and you can see him like, I know you've seen people who in like in real life, you voodoo have seen people who are in pain and they hold their body tight to kind of help negate it or to help them like compensate for the pain. And you know what that uncoiling of nerves and that uncoiling of muscles looks like. Gej, that's what you see. You actually see this like man right himself. You see him, his arms aren't so coiled tight. He seems relaxed, and he just looks at you. There's a moment where his eyes just kind of mist for a second as he grips your hands really tight with strength that you can definitely see, feel in yours. And he just says thank you, and he moves the spear to you. And as he does so, he says, "You've healed me. Let it heal you."
Gingerly, like almost like he's scared of it, kind of, because now it holds that weight on it. He picks it up, he just kind of loops it where Arthur had once been, and he nods.
One more thing. You see him walk around there now, not instead of that ginger kind of like step he had, he actually like walks around there with his head held and his shoulders back. He takes something from like this bag that's hanging on his side, and the leather laces where the guard is on it. You see him working for a second, and he lets go, and you see this feather, this black and brown feather, and the quillion in it is like dark brown and almost black. And then beside it, you see a much smaller gray and blue feather, and they're tied in there. Now it should fly right.
Thank you.
Add to your inventory, please, a spear +1.
Ooh.
Thank you, Cap.
You're welcome. With all of your items gathered, you collectively find Malcolm. Yes, Gage. Or, excuse me, Moonin.
While we're here, do they have any daggers for our other friends
I should say,
who...
collectively, you can find some daggers in the town.
Yeah.
Take your pick from behind me.
Just like right behind him.
Yes, come to my store. I just
the knife
know
store.
we have another party member who is currently weaponless for the most part. Who
Yeah.
could probably use something to fight with if we're possibly dealing with some kind of corruption in the wood.
If I make a knife store, can I call it the Knife Nook?
Yes.
Thank you. I just
What
needed
I'm-
your approval.
It's your world. You can make it whatever you want to call it.
What I
Doctor
know
stabs
about
aplenty.
cold iron.
Would you know about cold iron?
Mm-hmm.
Indeed you would. You know of it. Finding someone who can make it for you is a bit of a different story.
Sure. I need to find like a cold iron dagger.
Yeah. It's a bit of a different story finding someone who can forge it properly. Give me a percentage roll.
Sure. That is a 12.
Because you are who you are. You make a few trades of samples and speak to those, and you lead the party to Anvil Alley.
Okay.
This place is the one that you passed earlier that was like a blast furnace and smelled of forge and fire. As you walk through, you can see there's like this soot that sort of hangs. Yeah, you're right at home. There's this sort of ever-present soot that hangs in there, and it's really this. It is such a juxtaposition to all of the nature and blending in things to see this place that sits here and is just completely at odds with the rest of this natural beauty that's formed around it. But stout folk work the forges. Men, women, whatever, they're all here, every single one of them. Beards that are braided, some that are short, some that are singed, and they come in all retinue of color from green to red, black, brown, blonde, everything. Some of them are so dark that they're blue, almost like a dark blue color. And sure enough, the sound of ringing hammers from different forges, sound of the sizzle of quench as a blade or some other item is hardened by placing it into oil while it's fiery hot. As you approach, the busty young stout lady from the day before eyes you, Ren, and she walks over, one hand on her hip. At her other hip, you can see the flat edge of a heavy hammer with a well-worn handle. Her skirt pulled, her skirt is tied off, not up high, but tied off by about her knee. You can see she's wearing thick, heavy boots with an iron plate over the toes of them. She walks over to you. Well, I didn't expect to see you back so soon.
I have a difficult question to ask. We're going to
Well,
be
I'm not
going.
normally into satyrs, but
Yeah, well, come to a revelry and you'll find yourself surrounded by. Anyway, um,
she slaps you on the arm, and it's like, boom.
I. I'll think about that one. I have to take it. My friends and I have to take a trip out of the city, and there are things that are corrupting the natural way. And I know that there are things that are well suited to that. And I am very, very sorry to ask this because it is something that is so anathema to me. But cold iron, I know your folk work with it. I need a blade.
All right. I didn't think your kind enjoyed
Don't.
grabbing iron.
I don't. But the things that are there, they've been twisted, and if they cannot be saved, then I have to return them to the earth one way or the other. And I will do what I must, like it or not. There's sort of a hard edge to their voice at this point.
All right. Come with me, you lot. She takes you into the store. She pulls out a like a rolled leather thing and then unrolls it. And Gej, Moonin, Lysandra, Emrys especially, you've seen magical and uh, like you've seen some of the most pristine and beautiful blades in your lives, and you've seen implements that are meant for nothing but destruction. And herein lies the most ornate killing devices that can be held with a single hand that you've probably ever seen. These are what you're looking for.
I'm almost afraid to approach. I just kind of stay back, let the others look for a moment, and almost screwing up my courage.
There are a total of 4 of them.
Are these daggers, short blades?
They would all be on the dagger dirk, that sort of line.
Okay.
What we collectively call in 5e dagger.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'll kind
As
of
I narrow my eyes, going, there's a difference between a stiletto, a dirk, and a dagger.
There are a lot of kinds of daggers.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. There's a Crusader's dagger. There's a European Knight's dagger. Anyways, I won't go on.
I'll just kind of
Punching dagger.
shoulder or bump Emrys to go browse the wares.
Sure.
I'll put a hand on Moonin's shoulder, and I don't know if you know this, but these, and I'll just point to that metal. Some folk are very sensitive to this. It pains me even to see it. But if there are indeed spirits of the old ways that are corrupted and twisted and need to be felled, these are the blades you want.
I will get with Emrys concerning what daggers that are there.
Okay.
She tells you, she points to a pair of them, which their blade is almost an hourglass that follows into a point. They're perfectly balanced. The handle on them is nothing more than a thin scale on either side. These are throwing, but they'll come back to you as well. Nothing like having to fetch your dagger after you've thrown it across the room in a drunken stupor to come have it back at you. These
Although
other two,
having it come back at you in a drunken stupor might be just as difficult.
no, it just returns to your hand or on your belt.
Okay. I was picturing like throw, stick, comes flying back at you.
No, throw, stick, shoof, appears in your hand again. Throw, stick,
That's
appears
cool.
in your hand again.
I'm envisioning the scene from the old movie Kroll, if you remember that.
Yes.
Yep. Anyway,
Which I'm a fan of the chakra as a weapon, but I also understand that is a danger loop. It's
yes,
just,
it is.
how do you not keep your fingers from disappearing?
Or
You don't.
what is it? The bladed whips, where the whole
Yeah.
whip is a
Yeah.
blade or made of metal.
The
That's
wheel
just
of fire. The wheel, I think it's called the wheel of fire and wind. That's the martial arts weapons that are
Mhm.
blades with blades sticking off of them. It's just like, that's too much. That's just too
That's
much.
awesome.
As you gather the rest of your stock and gear and ready yourselves for your trip, that is what we're going to call it for this evening. I'm going to start off by saying that is a fantastic fun. Thank you, Breck, for joining us so much. I had a blast. I
Welcome.
cannot
Yeah.
wait to have you join us again.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
Hey.
That was so much fun for me. Welcome to the new world, y'all. It's gonna be a crazy place, and
it's a whole new world.
here there be fucking monsters. A huge thanks to Otter Moonin, who ran the show tonight. You got the Zoom going, all of our overlays and everything else like that. Thank you for all the hard work that you put into this. We really appreciate it. A thank you again to Voodoo for just being Gej, our wholesome lesser restoration boy. Q, we love you. We hope you get feeling better soon. We hope to see you next week. Just know we're here for you and we love you. If you need anything, let me know and I will find somebody who can get it to you. And then to Vixen, also, we miss you. We can't wait to see you again, hopefully soon. But anyways, thank you all for tuning in tonight. What?
Yeah. Raid.
Thank you for reminding me. Stick around for a minute because we're going to raid another channel. I keep meaning to do that every week and I keep forgetting. You know what, Deca? I do know some people that do know some people in just about everything, but I've been on this earth for a long time. I mean, a long time. Anyways, thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. We really appreciate it. Stick around as we go to raid. Everybody keep reminding me to do that every week, and then we'll do it. Don't forget, we'll be back next week with another episode of the Troubleshooters, but in 2 weeks' time, I'm doing the special episode with Ed. Oh my God, every time I see it, Ed Greenwood, Jenny Loveday, and Tony Winslow Brill, and it's exciting. I'm excited to have this happen. You guys come back and keep watching with us. We are going to raid another channel. Who do we want to raid tonight? Anybody have an idea of who we should raid?
I don't know what that means.
It means we take everybody who's currently watching us and we show up to another channel streaming, and all of our viewers
all
go
of our
over
viewers
there.
with us. So I see somebody said that we should go to Dash Ducks. Dash Ducks? All right. So raid/raid space Dash Ducks.
You
Hang
can
on,
watch a
everybody.
bunch of ducks on a farm, and you can feed them if you submit bits, and it's all sorts of entertaining.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yep, it's multiple cameras on a farm looking at ducks.
I think we may.
We Are Nerdsmith is streaming.
We Are
Dungeons and
Nerdsmith,
Dragons?
and I was thinking, yeah, it's actually Angela, who is one of their people. She is actually making maps and doing work for their campaign that they do called Shenanigans. And that is one of the people that we thought about. Another one that I thought about doing was Dicey Amazons.
Mm-hmm.
They
Both of those
are
sound good.
hanging. What's that?
I said both of those sound good.
Yeah. You know what? I think we're gonna go raid our friends over at We Are Nerdsmith because they show me a lot of love, and I want to show them that love as well. So, we're gonna go raid We Are Nerdsmith. So stick around. Make sure you say hi to Angela as she is making maps. We love you guys. We will see you all next week. Take care of yourselves. Don't forget tomorrow night. Jason is back with another episode of oh my, I almost called Stolen Cities, but it's not. It's called World at War with Scion. So we'll see you all next week. Remember, tune in for Jason tomorrow. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye, everybody.